another reason why this time of year can really heighten those feelings of grief is because there's sort of this sense of gatherings, and it can feel sometimes like forced, like you need to go to this holiday party, or you need to go to, this person's home, for the holiday meal. And when inside you're like, I don't want to. I just want to withdraw. I want to go curl up in a ball somewhere. I do not want to be around people. I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of the L.O.V.E Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. The holiday season is upon us. Joy to the world and all that, right? Well, not necessarily. The sad truth, I guess, is that it's also a time when grief can rear its ugly head. And that's what I want to talk about today. So sit down if you're not already, pour yourself a cup of tea, maybe a glass of wine or a glass of water, because we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk about this subject, because it is one that's near and dear to my heart. So first, in case this is their first time here, or you happen to have stumbled across the Live, Love, Engage podcast, welcome. I am Gloria Grace. I'm a confidence catalyst and self-love advocate who empowers women over 50 through my L.O.V.E method and energy healing to boldly live life on their terms. And as I've said, this time of year, it's, it's supposed to be joyful, and everybody's supposed to be happy and gay. Okay, not that. Never mind. You know what I mean. I'm showing my age when that word meant joy. And you know what? I think for some people it still does. But anyway, if you've experienced a loss, in the past year, maybe even the past 5 years, whether it's death of a friend or a loved one or even a beloved pet, it can be tough to feel merry and bright. And I know firsthand what that's like. It's 9 years ago, but I still remember it like it was yesterday. My sister, older sister Michaela, passed 2 days after Christmas. And yeah, and I tell you, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I could feel the end was near. And so yeah, it was not easy. And was not easy in the several years after that, when Christmas would come up and this time of year, and even now still, even now, I was like, little tears are coming up as I remember. Gosh, yeah, it's amazing. Our brains and our emotions are really powerful things, and how they hold on to memories. Even, things, and in fact, I even, I could even go back farther and remembering where I was and when I heard about my older brother when he passed. So, and then, when you come up with the holidays, it's like, and especially if you do happen to lose someone at this time of year, it's like every year, even when you've gotten past, that initial really tough stage of grief and you're into the acceptance, it can still trigger things. In fact, I remember actually last year, now that I think about it, last year at this time, I was driving somewhere and I don't know, something happened. I just started tearing up, but I let the tears flow. And, and then it passed and I was okay again. But it was just those memories. But it's not even, you might not even be, that might not be what you're grieving. It might not be actually death of a person, specific person. Uh, it could be grieving your identity. Maybe this is your first year as an empty nester. And maybe your kids, even, maybe they're away at college and they're not able to come home for the holidays. Or maybe like my daughter who lives in Europe. So thankfully she was home a couple months ago, but she won't be home for the holidays. I haven't spent Christmas with her for 5 years. And I've had to deal with that. uh, Sometimes it might be that you're grieving maybe the business you poured your heart into didn't make it, or some other dream that you had has died. Maybe a friendship ended this year, that one that you, maybe a long held friendship, and for whatever reason, um, you know, it's over. Could be a marriage ending as well. So all of these things can cause grief, and then the volume. I'm thinking ahead, got ahead of me. The holidays can pump up the volume, as it were, on it. So loss and loneliness and longing for what was or could have been. So if any of you listening to this or watching on YouTube can relate to this, do what I did just then. Take a breath. Because here's the thing. You know what? You're doing better than you think. And you know how I know that? You're here. You're listening to me talk on this podcast right now. So that shows that, yeah, you're hanging in there. You're even looking for support. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. So pat yourself on the back right now. Go ahead. Say, yes, I'm here. I'm surviving. And this too shall pass, let me tell you. But so why does this time of year feel so much harder when you're grieving? Well, there's the songs. Actually, I was just at a concert last night, and I don't think they did this song, but it's the most no, the most wonderful time of the year. No, what is it? It's the most wonderful time of the year. There we go. I knew the song would come back in my head. Well, sure, yeah, for lots of people. But hearing all those songs about, joy, like I said, joy to the world, and all of these happy, wonderful songs, you can start feeling some pressure from all that. And it can be quite exhausting. So, guess what? You don't have to fake happiness, because the people who love you are going to be able to handle your real feelings. Now, the holidays are also, it's all about, maybe not all about, but it's a lot about rituals and traditions. Maybe it's that holiday meal that you serve, or it's a religious service that you attend, or it's and no matter what religion you are, there's a lot of holidays that come around this time of year. Not just Christmas. I'm that's one I celebrate, but there's Hanukkah, there's I know Kwanzaa, there's lots of them. So with all of those, there are traditions. Like I know for Hanukkah, there's the menorah. You light the menorah, and And let's say if it is someone that you spent time with, whether it was a loved one or whether it's your spouse or whatever, and you're not going to be spending the holiday with that person this year. Um, it's going to bring up memories. Like for me, when my sister was going through cancer and I was out there before Christmas, I was with her while she was going through treatments. She wanted to bake Christmas cookies, and that's something that we always did in our family. Is we every Christmas, in fact, my mom would go crazy sometimes when I was really little, baking all these different kinds of cookies. But my sister had a particular favorite, which is also my favorite, and they were these lovely, basically a sugar cookie with pecans sprinkled on top. So good. Just thinking about them now, I actually made them for my daughter when she was here. So we kind of celebrated the holidays a little early with her. But anyway, so she wanted the cookies. So I was like, okay, I'll bake these Christmas cookies for my sister. And so you make the dough, then you roll them up into little balls, and then you flatten them with a glass, and then you put the pecans on them. So I'm going out, I put all these things on the cookie sheet and I'm flattening them. And she's looking at them going, you're not doing it right, Glor. I'm like, what you talk about? What do you mean? This is the way I always make them. What's your problem? She's like, no, you need to flatten them more so they come out crispier. The name of the cookie is Pecan Crisps. So now that I think about it, makes sense. They're not pecan chewies. So I was like, okay, I flattened them some more and then I put them in the oven. And when they came out, yeah, they were better. Big sister was right. So that's a memory now that I cherish. And it's a good memory that I have of the holidays, even though she was going through cancer. She was going through chemo treatments at the time. But, it was a way of us connecting. And I think that's important is to hold on to those memories. You grieve them, but know that they're always in your heart, and they're gonna live there. And eventually, like me, you'll be able to look back at that and maybe feel gratitude, maybe laugh at it if it was something funny. It just takes a while. Give yourself grace, and don't worry about how long it takes, because grief doesn't abide by any type of timelines, and everyone grieves differently. Everyone has a different grief lasts longer in different people and different situations. I mean, again, I'm thinking back, I've lost pretty much all of the I've lost all of the members of my immediate family that I grew up with. My parents are gone and my siblings are gone. And I know that I grieve differently for each person because I also had different relationships with each person. And also, I think too, my sister is the only person where I was actually with her when she transitioned. My other family members, I wasn't there. And so I think that makes a difference as well. Anyway, where was I going? Okay, so another reason why this time of year can really heighten those feelings of grief is because there's sort of this sense of gatherings, and it can feel sometimes like forced, like you need to go to this holiday party or you need to go to this person's home for the holiday meal. And when inside you're like, I don't want to. I just want to withdraw. I want to go curl up in a ball somewhere. I do not want to be around people. And that's okay. And also you might be even you want to avoid people like, really focusing on it, maybe asking questions and things like that you don't want to deal with. So you don't have to manage their discomfort because they don't know what to say, for one thing. And you don't have to feel obligated to attend these gatherings if you don't want. And I will share another story from my life that sometimes the flip side might be true, is that you may want to go somewhere. So the year after my sister passed, and it's December, or maybe it might even been even around Thanksgiving, and I'm just starting to think about Christmas. And at the time, my yeah, I think both kids were planning on coming home for Christmas. I think my son was still in college. I think my daughter might have been. I think they both might have still been in college yet. I think my daughter was getting ready to graduate, possibly. No, she'd already graduated. Oh, never mind. Anyway, um, sorry, that's not the point. Point is, um, we were going to be home. It was probably just going to be this quiet Christmas with just my kids and my husband, and our pets. But the thought of that, and then usually at Christmas we would invite my husband's cousins over, and so I would be cooking up the holiday meal. And the thought of doing that was just like, no. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it this year. I can't. I just can't. And I knew that my sister-in-law lives out in Texas, and she has three sons, my nephews, and she has a big family because her husband has a big family, and so they always have like big gatherings over Christmas. And so we've never spent Christmas with them out in Texas. They used to come to Florida when the boys were little, but we haven't ever gone out to spend Christmas with them. And I don't know if I came up with the idea, or maybe my husband did, or the kids did, but whatever. It was like, let's go out to Texas. Let's spend Christmas with them. And it was really good because I got to distract myself around all of these people. Because again, she's got three kids of her own. A couple of them had girlfriends that were coming. My brother-in-law, then his family was there. I mean, on Christmas Day, I don't know, there was probably 25 people in the house at one point, I think, but it was great because I could just kind of watch what was going on. I could just kind of take it all in, have light conversations here and there, but I didn't have to focus on my grief. I could just be that observer and just be in the moment and not have to really deal with my grief. And that's how I handled it. So be open to all possibilities is what I'm saying. That sometimes being alone is what you need, and sometimes being with a bunch of people can be a good distraction. And there's no right way. That's my point. There is no right way to grieve, especially during the holidays. Um, a couple other things can come up. One thing is, and this comes up a lot for all types of things, is the comparison trap that you might fall in. Everybody's posting wonderful pictures on social media about these wonderful gatherings that they're going to and all these fun things. But you don't know the full story behind that picture, because maybe they're going through their own grief journey, and maybe they cried in the car before they went into the party. Uh, just know that you're not alone. Okay. Even when it might feel like you are. And I mentioned, this before, about this grief doesn't have a timeline, but there can also be this pressure of time because it's the end of the year, and New Year is coming, and, people talk about making New Year's resolutions and all this stuff. But again, you don't have to buy into that. You can just grieve on your own timeline. And I will put in a plug here for Oh, I should have grabbed the book to show. Maybe I'll put it in the video when I'm editing. But it's called Grieving Mindfully, and it's just a little tiny little paperback book. But one of the things the author talks about in there is that grief comes in waves, and not only this time of year, but birthdays or anniversaries can bring up those waves of grief. And sometimes they're going to be big waves, and sometimes they'll just be little ones. Like I mentioned earlier, last year when I just had the tears come through for a little bit, and then it was okay. So yeah, and check it out. And just as an aside, how I found this book is one of the things I love, that God, universe, source, it's always looking out for us. You're never alone. Because a couple months after my sister passed, I was going through my bookcase and happened to see this book. Now, I didn't buy this book. I realized that this was a book that came from my sister's house. She had bought that book. And so I just took that as a sign of like, thank you, Michaela. She's still helping me from the great beyond. And, she knew that I needed some support with grieving. So, how can you navigate this? Now you've learned already, these are why this comes up, but now we got to see how we can get through it. And I've kind of talked a little bit about it, but as I said at the beginning, you have permission to do things differently. So maybe that is saying no to parties, no to hosting. You can start some new traditions, maybe, or and skip the old ones entirely. You can leave early from someplace. You can take a break. You can change your mind at the last minute. One of my first clients taught me this. No is a complete sentence, and it's okay to set boundaries because they're not selfish. Boundaries are an expression of self-love. And I also know sometimes, though, when you are saying no, sometimes you can start feeling guilty about that because you don't want to disappoint people. I get it. But they'll get over it. So I encourage you to practice some self-compassion. And if you happen to do feel guilty, then practice a little self-forgiveness. It's okay. You will get through this. It seems really hard in the middle of it. I tell you, that first year, I really did feel alone. But and it was tough, but I got through it, and time. What's the cliche? Time heals all wounds. Well, you know, they may not get completely healed, but they'll heal enough that you can move forward. And I think that's the important thing. Um, you can also miss someone and still laugh at a joke or a funny movie. You can feel sad and grateful at the same time. You can grieve what was and be curious about what's coming next. Grief and joy can occupy the same space. So you're not betraying anyone by having a good moment. You're not over it just because you smiled either. It's called being human to have these conflicting emotions at the same time. It's okay. And also feel free to talk about them if you can. It may be too hard, but if you can, if you lost someone, say their name, tell stories, and or even if it is grieving, a lost dream or a lost pet or whatever it is, just don't have to pretend that it doesn't matter. again, the people who care about you, they're going to be there to support you. And the ones that don't, that's their problem, not yours. And you don't need to worry about them. Um, I know sometimes when you are in gatherings or just, in conversation with people, we oftentimes don't know what to say when someone is going through grief. And it can be really hard to hear these things. And so I put together a PDF with a list of responses you can use during those moments when people say things like, shouldn't you be better by now or over it? It's been a long time, or, um, you know, they, you know, they wouldn't want you to be sad, or when someone was trying to get me to sign up for a program, oh, they would want you to do this. Like, how the heck do you know? You don't know my sister. You don't know that she would want me to jump into this coaching program, like, right 6 months after she passed. You don't know that. That's another story. I may tell that story one day on the show. Anyway, so anyway, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. It'll be right there. All you got to do is download it. You don't even have to give me your email or anything. It's my gift to you for this holiday season. So yeah, I'll have it in the show notes. So if you're listening to this somewhere, check it out there. I'll also put it. I'll put a link to it in the YouTube description as well, so you can download it. Give yourself space to cry also, or light a candle in their memory, look at photos, maybe write them a letter. That might be useful. Let them know how you feel about them leaving, or whatever it is. Even write a letter about your dream. Write a letter to your business and say, I'm really sorry that you're not here anymore. I really wanted this to succeed. You can do that as well. And last thing, and I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is get support. This one, this really made a difference in my life, let me tell you, because healing happens in community. It is so important to be with people who understand that grief isn't linear, that it has its own timeline. And also that to have someone there to listen to you that isn't going to try to fix you. They're just going to hold space for you. It's so important. And so, maybe it's a counselor. I reached out to a counselor and worked with them for a while. Maybe it's a grief group. I did that as well. It's great. Friends. If you've got a good friend you could talk to, they can be so supportive. Maybe you go on a retreat. I actually went on a one-day retreat. And met a wonderful woman there, and actually a bunch of other lovely ladies. And we had this talking circle, and I wound up crying during it. And they were so great in holding support for me. So, or maybe it's an online community. I think there's probably, you go on Facebook, I'm sure there are all kinds of grief groups there that provide support. Whatever it is, just know you don't have to get through this alone. And you're not going to always feel this heavy. I can promise you that. It's like I said, I've gone through a lot of loss in my life. And it's hard in the moment, and it's hard, maybe even that first year, maybe even 2 years, whatever. But you will get through it. And right now, however you're feeling right now is okay. It's how you're supposed to feel. It's or maybe that's how you're supposed to feel, but it's what you're feeling, and that's okay. You're human. You can own those feelings and just know that it's what's right for you. So, if you're navigating this journey and you've been doing it alone, or maybe you've tried a bunch of different things. You've done the counselor route, you've done the grief support group, and you still feel like you need something else. I want you to know something is that I'm actually co-facilitating a grief retreat in June 2026. And I'm doing it with my lovely friend Patricia, who I mentioned that I attended her retreat. And so the two of us came up with this idea, but we're also bringing along Patricia's daughter, Jess, and another wonderful woman that Patricia has worked with, Catherine. And so the four of us are coming together to host this retreat in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina in June. Like I said, June in 2026, and it's called the Good Grief Retreat. And when Patricia and I came up with this idea, we just thought that name was so good because, for one thing, it conjures up, the old Charlie Brown comic strip where he would always say good, or would he say good grief? Or maybe Lucy would say good grief, Charlie Brown. But it's also a way of saying that grief can be good. It is good. It's a human emotion, and we're allowed to feel it, and we're allowed to heal it. And that's what this is for. It's to help women who are going through any type of loss, like we talked about today: death, divorce, um, transition, your dreams, your identity. And we're putting together this 3 days of safe space where you'll have a community, and we're offering some healing modalities to help and support, talking circles, like I experienced. And I'm going to put the link in the show notes, as well as I also have it up here on the video for you as well. But I will put it in the YouTube description as well. And you can just go there if you want to learn more about it. Got a lot of good information on there. No pressure, just an invitation, because you deserve support. You really do. And as I said, healing happens in community. That's the best place for it. So before we end today's episode, and I hope you're subscribed if you're not already, and especially if you have gotten some value out of today's. You're going to want to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform or on YouTube. But I want to now invite you to settle your nervous system a little bit, help you find some peace as we head into the thick of the holiday season, and hopefully help you to lighten your load a little bit. So I want to share my modality, which is light language, and it's a lovely multidimensional form of communication that speaks to your heart, speaks to your soul, not necessarily something you're going to understand with your logical mind, and that's okay. You don't have to. And I would encourage you to listen to this when you can be in a place where you can be still and quiet and not focused on anything else. So if you're listening to this while you're on a treadmill or you're driving a car, pause the podcast, come back to it later, where you can be sitting in a nice, comfortable chair, and you can just close your eyes if you like. Breathe in and breathe out, and just set the intention that I do as well, is that whatever you're going to hear right now will be for your soul's highest good and the highest good of all concerned, and will help you in whatever way you need some support right now. Okay, let's see what comes through today. Kako na huneia, kanyo no かこよといかほえあのこよねここやのきかさこわねやなくやなけあくしゆKanui Hashono kola manenta nano nina Ano kua Kano yako yo no kuika Seyo tonko yanaki ya Ona sakunga kainaki kali Siano eta chuoton Hakayono kolyamana nina kekeata Shangaryamana ki Sana kokuyane Kayono kia koye Shiano kryamoku Sakayona kia Shano kare pataginga, sonno kare yamako, kaya na kuya no ki, sana ka kalyano kare bata, sako wa, sakuya no kuyo tu, sanya no kayo se. So, I hope that whatever is on your heart today is feeling a little lighter. And if later today it feels a little heavy again, that's okay. You can always come back and listen to this again, you know. But also know that it's normal. Like I said, grief comes in waves. And, sometimes they'll knock you down. I was in the ocean not too long ago and waves knocked me down a couple times. So, yeah, grief can do that too. But you know what? You can get back up again. Now, sometimes you might need to have somebody pick you up. My daughter was there to kind of help me get back on my feet again. And whoever that is for you, I hope you have them there to help you. And I'm here too. If I can be of any support, look me up. My wish for you is give yourself some grace. Enjoy the holiday season as best you can in whatever way works for you. Maybe it's putting on a sad movie. Maybe it's putting on a comedy. Do whatever feels right. Do some journaling, maybe. Write a letter. Go for a walk. Meditate. But know that no matter what, even if you feel like you're alone, you're not. You are divine. You are a spiritual being living a human life, and you can always go within and ask for support. And you can go without and ask for support too. You can go reach out and get some support. So until we meet again next week, next Tuesday, I encourage you to go out and do your best to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.